Yoshinori Ohsumi was born in Fukuoka, Japan in 1945. He started the seminal work for which he is awarded the Nobel Prize at Tokyo University. This year's Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine is awarded for discoveries concerning autophagy. The word autophagy is derived from the Greek language and means self-eating, to eat oneself. In the human body, self-eating, autophagy, is a process by which our cells reuse their own components to release energy and to build new functional parts. Yoshinori Ohsumi decided to study the process of autophagy in baker's yeast. Yeast cells contain a single large lysosome known as the vacuole. Ohsumi found a clever way to visualize the accumulation of autophagosomes in the vacuole by making starved cells unable to degrade the content of the vacuole. He then used this method to search among thousands of mutants for yeast cells that had lost the capacity to activate autophagy. This ingenious strategy led to the discovery that autophagy is regulated by a large number of genes. As many as 15 essential autophagy genes were identified in the first study published in 1993. Having discovered the autophagy genes, Ohsumi moved on to the next question, that was to understand how the products of the genes work together. Thanks to this pioneering work, we have today a detailed understanding of the molecular mechanism of autophagy. We now know that autophagy regulates important physiological of the cells, and that defects of autophagy are associated with many human diseases. Through the removal of damaged proteins and organelles, autophagy promotes cell renewal. Failure of autophagy is therefore associated with cell aging and with many diseases of old age, such as Alzheimer's disease and type 2 diabetes. Finally, too much autophagy may have undesired effects, as for example in cancer, where autophagy can promote the growth of tumor cells and the resistance to anti-cancer drugs. The discoveries made by Yoshinori Ohsumi have been instrumental in revealing the mechanism and significance of a fundamental physiological process. And there is growing hope that this knowledge will lead to the development of new strategies for the treatment of many human diseases.
And you wake up and go throughout your day. You eat, you work, you get sleepy, and you go to bed only to wake up the next day and do it all over again. And you aren't alone in this behavior. Every animal and plant you've ever seen does the exact same thing. Every living creature on this planet is on a 24-hour cycle of activity and rest called the circadian rhythm. What's amazing is that we do this even in complete darkness. So how do we know when it's day and when it's night without the sun? Our 3 Nobel Prize winners had the same question, and to answer it, they used a very simple and unassuming insect, the fruit fly. These scientists worked on a gene called period that influenced the circadian rhythm of the fruit fly. One mutation shifted the cycle from the normal 24 hours to a shorter 19, and another one to a longer 29. A final mutation removed all rhythm from the fly, causing it to wake and rest at seemingly random times. But what was this gene doing? Was it making a protein that controls the timing? And if so, what was that protein doing? And where was this protein in the fly, or even in individual cells of the fly? And finally, how did it change the circadian rhythm? In 1988, a few of those questions were answered. A new paper came out that revealed that the period protein is in the nucleus of cells scattered throughout the body of the fly, and that period was found more during the night, with very little around during the day. This was the first hint that period was cycling in the same way that day and night do. From this protein cycling discovery, they came up with the idea that perhaps the period protein turned off its own gene. One of the easiest ways to turn on and off a gene is to have the protein that gene makes also be the switch master. The researchers thought that the period protein turned off its own production, which would lead to a cycle of period amounts. It's kind of like when your car shuts down because it overheated. Once it cools down, you can start it up again, but when the engine gets too hot, it'll shut off. Over the next 6 years, period was heavily studied to find evidence for this feedback loop. And in 1994, another player showed up that helped confirm the feedback loop was real. Another gene called timeless. The timeless protein worked with period to move into the nucleus of cells and stop more period from being made. Timeless is kind of like an employee with security clearance taking in an expert. Without timeless, period can't get into the nucleus. But period and timeless aren't enough to explain the whole cycle. The final piece of the puzzle came in 1998 with another gene called double time. The double time protein reduces the stability of period outside of the nucleus, which leads to a delay in the cycling. So the whole setup goes something like this. The period gene starts making the period protein. The double time protein limits the stability of period so it doesn't build up too quickly. Timeless shows up and starts teaming up with period to move into the nucleus, and period shuts down its own production. But once the amount of period in the cell gets too low, the whole process starts up again. A calm, cool, and collected 24-hour cycle.
You're never actually in the moment that you're doing a particular activity. How many of you all really enjoyed a shower recently? Not had a shower. Enjoyed a shower. When I say enjoyed a shower, is actually look at every part of your body that you're cleaning and in seeing how it feels, being there in that one, and that is what meditation is all about, is being in the moment. I went to this place in Austria. I spent a lot of money to go to this place, which was, was a wellness institute, and they had been running that for 150 years. Go along. I went there. It was a beautiful place outside a lake, spectacular, cold. I walked in on a Sunday evening. The next morning, I went and met the doctor, and he said, "Welcome, Mr. Madhavan. Lovely to see you. You're from India, I see." Yeah. He says, "Congratulations, then. You've paid us a lot of money and come a long way to hear from us what we learned in India. 4 slices of slightly hard bread and a bowl that looked like it had a little bit of urine in it, but it was actually vegetable broth, according to him." I said, "What is this? Is this the appetizer?" He said, "No, that is your breakfast, lunch, and dinner for the next 3 days." I said, "Only that?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Give me my passport. Can I go back to India? I'm done. This is too radical for me." He said, "No, listen." And he said the most interesting. He said, "What do you want to eat for breakfast?" So now I'm looking at him very suspiciously. I said, "Can I have egg white omelette? I'm trying to go healthy here. Huh? So egg white omelette, maybe a little bit of oats." He said, "Yeah, would you like to have some pancakes?" Now, the thought of pancakes had already digested the pancakes because he meant it. Dining room. And at that place, I saw extraordinary people who've achieved extraordinary results, like the Sultan of Brunei's sister, Paula Abdul, brother, whatever, all kind of people. And when we went for breakfast, we were all sitting in this spectacular hall facing the lake, and everybody was sitting on their individual tables. We were categorically told no phones, no newspapers, no television, no nothing. You will sit there and you will do as we ask you to and see if it makes a difference in your life. So they had taken orders from every one of us. People had ordered omelettes, bacon, falana, timkana, everything. And everything was neatly placed on our table. It was actually there. Gourmet chef had prepared it. It was looking spectacular. I could smell it. I was ready to have it. And they said, we all can have any part of the breakfast you so wish, but the only condition is, our request is, they put this bowl of soup and this 4 pieces of spelt bread here and said, our only request to you is, finish this bowl of soup and this bread in the manner that we ask you to. And then we are more than happy for you to consume the rest of the breakfast. And I said, okay, great. What's the deal? They said, we're going to follow a principle here called drink your food, chew your water. I said, what do you mean by that? They said, take a piece of spelt bread, chew it 40 times at least, till it becomes liquid. Till it becomes completely liquid, then swallow it. It's not going to be easy. Your mind is not going to allow you to do that. It sounds very simple. Your mind is never going to allow you to do that, but we'd like you to focus on just that 4 pieces of bread we've given you. And then every time you take a sip of the soup, don't gulp it down. Put it in your mouth, gargle it in your mouth, feel it, chew it with your teeth, and then swallow it. I said, no problem. The pancake was beckoning, so I picked up my bread and I started to chew it. Slightly chewy, rubberish. And I wouldn't, make it into complete liquid. I could actually feel the entire flavor. It was not bad. It was pretty tasty. But ladies and gentlemen, in 14 minutes, I couldn't finish the bread. Forget about the rest of the breakfast. Forget about the soup. I couldn't finish the bread. I was sated. And it happened across the board to everybody. He started and he said to all of us, he says, Mr. Madhavan, the mind or your body knows exactly what it wants. Your mind gets sated after chewing for 14 to 15 minutes. You can only eat collectively for 15 minutes. What you eat, how much you eat, and that is a totally different thing. But you cannot chew for more than 14-15 minutes because the brain sends a signal to your body saying, stop eating. You've got enough food. I said, this is very interesting. And so conditioning of the lifestyle that you're leading while you eat the food will determine what aspect of the food is absorbed in your body. What we learned from India, where we say, the final point of the whole conversation is, people in our Shastras say that you are what you eat. By that, what he meant was, your emotional success, your emotional, your success, your temperament, the way you look at the world, your family relationships, your professional relationships, everything depends on what you eat. Now that was too much for me. I said, how can my acting depend on my popularity or my professional career depend on what I eat, sir? Please tell me what to eat, I'll only eat that. And he said, no. He says, when we say you are what you eat, it basically means that in today's world, people are so stressed out. He says that, Mr. Madhavan, if you're not able to give yourself 10 minutes in a day to sit quietly without your mobile phones, without your conversations, without your television, without being distracted, to eat your food, then you're doing a stupid profession and you're not a successful person. Enough. When you start drinking your food, when you chew it enough, the brain takes all the signals from your saliva. Your sugar and your carbohydrates gets digested in the mouth. Any doctor will tell you that.